If I have to ask you, from your perspective as of talent at CoinFund, what quality or skills are essential to be a successful entrepreneur?
When I think about what makes you a successful entrepreneur, I think that's pretty synonymous with what makes you a successful leader. I think the best founders have fallen in love with a problem, not with their solution to the problem. So they're flexible and malleable to what that solution is going to look like. They know exactly the problem they're trying to solve, and they know exactly the end user whose lives they're trying to make easier or better in some way.
Investing in crypto and Web3 is a skill. You need to understand the technology, right? So you need to be a crypto technologist, and at the same time, you need to understand actually use cases of this technology, because it's the use case that drives mass adoption. But also as an investor, you can't just put capital to be successful. I mean, you can if you are lucky and you pick the right investment, but it's much more important and much more rewarding as well to be a partner of the startup that you invest in, because capital is important, but much more important is the ability for an investor to open doors and to actually help the founder to be successful through partnership, through opportunity, through mentorship as well, that many founders need in order to be successful. So we are going to discuss all of this with a special guest today, Margaret Gabriel, Head of People and Talent at CoinFund. I remember that if you watch the interview and you have any comments, suggestions, feedback, you can always get in touch with me at steffi@financialfox.news, or you can reach out to me on social media at stefixi@_financialfox. You can also leave a comment on the YouTube comment section so we can hear what you are thinking. Now, if you are not part of the Financial Fox community, click the subscribe button now on YouTube, and also follow us on social media to stay up to date with our news and interviews. And remember that we also have a podcast on Spotify, so you can listen on the go if that is your preferred platform to consume content. And also, you are gonna be thrilled to know that I have launched a new initiatives inspired by the Financial Fox that is all about female empowerment and leadership. So head to our Twitter and you are gonna find all the details about the Bitcoin Foxes, which is an ordinance project. So we have decided to go to Bitcoin for this NFT project. And if you want to check out, go on our Twitter or also on our Financial Fox website, and you can find informations there. One more thing before I go. Remember that the content on the Financial Fox is for informational purposes only. We don't offer any financial advice, so make sure that you do your own due diligence, you skill up, because crypto is very volatile, as you know, and you should never take any opinion from anyone, either is mine or my guest, as an indication or a call to any action. Is your money, your responsibility. Crypto is very risky, as I said, so go and do your own research, because only when you are informed, then you can make better decisions. Before we get into the show, a few words about our partners and sponsors. Financial Fox is proud to partner with HIVE Digital Technologies, a public listed company focusing on building the green energy infrastructure for the AI revolution. HIVE was the first crypto miner to go public in Canada in 2017. They are also listed on Nasdaq and the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. They hodl, and they are a leader in efficient Bitcoin mining with the best hash rate realization in the industry. They are operational, powered by green energy, hydropower in Sweden and Canada, and geothermal in Ireland. HIVE was also the first crypto miner to buy GPUs, chips, and have an AI strategy. And that's very exciting considering the AI data center are such a high profitable business. Finally, and most importantly, HIVE care about shareholders. That's why their strategy is low dilution, low G&A, and focus on cash flow. If you don't know HIVE, check them out at HIVEdigitaltechnology.com and follow them on social media. Remember, AI is the future and Bitcoin is rising as a new asset class. Some analysts have a target price above $100,000 for 2024, but let's see. For now, we hodl and don't forget to check out HIVE. More information in the description. Hi, Margaret. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine. It's really great to have you on the show, and I'm looking forward to our discussion today, exploring investment in the Web3 and crypto space with you, the head of People and Talent at CoinFund, and CoinFund being really one of the leading crypto-native investment companies. So I'm sure there is a lot that we are going to explore in this discussion.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, fantastic. So, Margaret, maybe just quickly, can you introduce yourself so then all our viewers know about, your journey?
Of course. So I am CoinFund's head of people and talent, as you mentioned, and I think about my role as having two core functions that are very interdependent. So the first is I am here to support CoinFund. So our team of about 25 people, I'm their head of people. So that means making sure that we are a healthy, high-performing, highly engaged firm. So that means managing all of our performance management processes, our engagement, our leadership and culture strategy, our HR, benefits, operations, and making sure that our CoinFund employees are reaching their highest potential, because without our team being really successful and engaged, we can't service our portfolio companies or our investors, which is the reason we're here. So that's bucket number one. And then bucket number two is really exciting, and it's every single person at CoinFund does this to some extent, but I support our portfolio companies, and I get the privilege of acting like an outsourced head of people, executive coach, people and talent consultant to our founders and executive teams within the portfolio companies. We have over 100 of them, all in crypto and Web3, and many of them are looking to navigate their people and talent related challenges, whether that's a founder needs some coaching and wants one-on-one coaching support. An executive team needs an offsite to talk about their relationships and their leadership strategy. A founder needs to hire somebody and wants pipeline and support and understanding how to navigate that search. Or they just runs the gamut in terms of the type of work that we can help them with when it comes to people and talent. And all of these things are in service to our founders and also to our investors, and making sure that we are constantly thinking about that North Star, which is to drive excellent returns for our investors.
Yeah, this is brilliant. I think you mentioned such a very important aspect, because people are really the lifeblood of any project, and in order to be successful you need to have successful people working with your team. And there is a lot around culture as well, having an environment where people are enough motivated, are enough competitive, but also they are free to be successful. So I completely agree on everything that you said. Now, you mentioned about CoinFund having more than 100 investment, virtually all of them into Web3 and crypto. Now, tell me about disruptive technology require disruptive investors. And that seems like to be kind of like the tagline for CoinFund. And you can maybe explain me what that means.
Well, I think, when I think about the tagline of CoinFund, I think about our mission statement, which is to champion the leaders of the new internet. And I think that's really important because at CoinFund, we, our founder, Jake Bruckman, started our firm 9 years ago this summer. And I think that gives real testimony to one of our core values, which is thinking long term. So we've been here for a long time, almost a decade. We're not going anywhere. And we believe in the longevity of the technology and still think it's in its earlier stages. And so, Jake And now our 4 additional managing partners have, locked in on being early and right when it comes to, the trends within crypto and bringing like a principled, structured, thoughtful process to a really like still new and sometimes volatile marketplace. But then also to be a firm that doesn't just give capital to founders, but is actually giving them advisement and support in their strategy. So, Jake has always had his eye on creating a firm that is also crypto native and that is obsessed with the space and wants to come and help not just drive returns, which of course is our number one outcome, but also to advise these incredible founders who are trying to do what a lot of other, category defining founders have tried to do in the past, which is to like break through this industry and change a lot of really entrenched systems. And that's really hard. And we want to make sure we're a team that's actually helping them do that. So I think that important statement of like, championing these leaders, we're here to like go to the mat for our founders. So to help them when it comes to introductions to key partnerships or potential clients, to do coaching for them, to help them find the best talent in the world. So we're a firm that's built up to not just like keep chasing more and more investments and to like give them capital and hope and wish for the best. We actually, a big part of how we're incentivized at the firm and how our performance individually and as a team is assessed is to make sure that they're supported after and that they're successful. That's the only way that we actually drive returns is if those portfolio companies are successful and grow. And that means helping, these founders be more than just product builders, but learning how to become like real company builders. So that's really important. So is the technology like disruptive? I like to think of it more as like innovative and exciting and pushing the boundaries of what's possible, just like a lot of other industries have done before us. But I think that we're seeing more and more that founders in crypto, have appreciated so much their ability to lean on us as advisors and counselors as they're trying to navigate something like probably the biggest challenge they'll have in their professional life.
Yeah, is in order to be a successful VC, you can't really just deploy capital. And I think this is a big mistake that many VC have done in the past, but is really to become partners with the startup and kind of be there for them. And I think this is kind of like a rule that applies to any investment that you don't have. It doesn't have to be crypto. It can be, public markets, for example. I think as a startup, as a founder, getting capital from a strategic investor that is a partner that can open doors for you, that can coach you, can advise you, can kind of tell you, can also look outside, because sometimes that's what founders need. They need somebody that look outside of the box and say, listen, in order to drive revenue or in order, to enter the market in the best way, you might need to do this, or perhaps suggest a partnerships. I think there is so much value that VC and investor can add to company. And I don't know sometimes why that is not happening. Maybe it's from laziness from VC or, probably, I think many of them, they are not really they don't have the right approach and the right culture to be a successful VC, because sometimes it's also, difficult to get the right timing in the market, but, long term, I think VC with the right culture, they can actually strive and, survive different kind of like bear market or market volatility. And this is exactly what I was going to ask you, because CoinFund is, a long-standing investor. You have been able to stay resilient across in those years that has been quite challenging, I think, for the VC landscape. So tell me more how CoinFund managed to navigate this volatility and perhaps what was the approach behind it.
Yeah, so I think that goes back to, not to have already talked about this a little bit, but we have that value. We wrote our mission statement and our company values, and I think what's really important about company values is that you're not writing them to be aspirational. You're not writing them to be like who we wish we were. Values should really reflect who you already are, like how you already make decisions, and just getting those things written down and actually concrete. And one of the most natural values that came up for us was thinking long term. And so that's just been part of our DNA from the offset. And our managing partner partners are, they come from a really diverse background from, crypto nativity and technology. Like Jake, we have other managing partners who come from long-standing, impressive careers in traditional venture and understand what it is to build a venture firm that's very successful. We have managing partners that come from traditional finance and these like bigger institutions that have been around for a long time and weathered a lot of market downturns and changes in the traditional financial space. And so I think we just have really, really capable, experienced managing partners leading the charge who know how to plan for like market downturns and volatility because they've seen that before in their past and have been in crypto a long time. This is most of our that bear market's not our first rodeo. And so when you have, I think, leaders at the firm who have been both in crypto for a long time and then come from traditional finance and spaces that have also had, market downturns, we're not facing these things for the first time. So we're prepared. We know how we can see the signals and signs. We know how to be financially conservative as a firm. We know how to advise our portfolio companies who may need to conserve their runway or may need to make reductions in force, and we advise them on those things. So I think it's really helpful, and one of the main reasons I joined the firm, to have people in the leadership positions who have those reps, who had that experience.
I think you mentioned something quite interesting, being conservative as a VC. I would like you to expand a little bit on that and also perhaps tell me how the crypto investment landscape has evolved over the years and perhaps what changes you have seen since you have joined the space.
So I'm not an investor, right? So I at CoinFund's. So keep in mind that what I share is more like my observations, and I think if you asked that same question to one of our investors on the team, we'd probably get a much more sophisticated and probably more like factually accurate answer. But I'll share kind of what I've observed and what I can see since I've been in the space since 2018. At least like full time working, I was at Gemini, the crypto exchange, before joining CoinFund. And I don't necessarily think that CoinFund is conservative. I don't think we would describe ourselves that way. And to be honest, I don't think any like crypto native firm would be is conservative in general. So there are a lot of venture capital firms. Here's what's interesting about investing in crypto. There are deeply crypto native firms where there is a big risk appetite. And individuals on the team might be like deeply crypto native, crypto degen, maybe don't have as much training or experience in traditional venture capital or traditional investing and have started a firm because of their crypto nativity and their ability to source and get connected to founders and projects in the space. Then over here on the other side, there are very traditional venture capital firms like A16Z, Bessemer, etc., who have been around for a long time, very successful firms, and maybe have an arm or a small team that is dedicated to crypto and have a couple investors who are adding crypto into the portfolio across the other investments. And then we have firms kind of in the middle who are looking to marry like the process and apprenticeship and like thoughtful, principled structure that traditional venture brings to the investment process with some of the risk-taking, excitement, appetite, and innovation of crypto, and marrying those things together. And I think that's where CoinFund sits because we're a crypto only firm. So we're not dedicated to other strategies. We're not some of the other crypto firms may decide like, we're not gonna do crypto anymore, or we're gonna pull back on that strategy. That's not gonna happen because that's all we're like fully in. But we also have individuals who care deeply about running a really, really strong process that makes sure that we're making really diligent, thoughtful investments and borrow from like the best practices and principles of these very, very successful venture capital firms. And I think for that reason, I wouldn't say we're conservative, but I would say that we're just really thoughtful and we're building processes that allow us to invest for the winners that are going to, emerge long term. So I think what's interesting, you asked about like what's changed. And I think what's interesting about being in the talent space in crypto for the past 4-ish years is when I was at Gemini in 2018, crypto as somebody's full-time job and joining a crypto company was still so new. There were very few people who were like at a full-time crypto shop. And so when we were recruiting and hiring, basically the assumption was that the person was not going to have formal crypto experience and was going to have like role-related relevant experience and then learn the crypto side and express interest in it. We are in such a different talent space now where most of the time the expectation is that the person has some crypto experience or comes from a crypto startup firm, company, project, or has like really shown and demonstrated experience outside of their corporate space. So the talent like expectation has shifted in a pretty short amount of time.
If I have to ask you, from your perspective as of talent at CoinFund, what quality or skills are essential to be a successful entrepreneur?
Again, I think that there are so many definitions of leadership out there. And also when I think about what makes you a successful entrepreneur, I think that's pretty synonymous with what makes you a successful leader. There's a little bit of nuance because being a founder is incredibly different than leading a well-established company that you didn't start on your own.
Yeah, I know.
So there are a couple of things that I see that I think are true for most founders in spaces, but I think especially true for crypto. So I think one is almost an irrational obsession with a problem. And I think the best founders have fallen in love with a problem, not with their solution to the problem. So they're flexible and malleable to what that solution is going to look like, but they know exactly the problem they're trying to solve, and they know exactly the end user whose lives they're trying to make easier or better in some way. And I think the best founders have this in mind at all times, which is who is my end user that I'm trying to, in some way, give value to. So obsessed with a problem, irrationally so. Would get on a flight at any time, think about it all the time, obsessed with this problem. I think the best leaders are coachable, and this is not always the case. So we need individuals who are open to feedback, deeply curious about how they come across to people, about their ability to attract talent, because the goal of a leader is to get more done with a group of people than you could do by yourself. And you could have the best, most interesting idea in the world, but if you cannot attract and keep great talent, you're never going to be successful. So we need people who are coachable, because that means they're going to be able to understand, grow their self-awareness, understand how they're coming across to other people, how they can get people on board, how they can get the potential out of those folks, how they can retain amazing talent. And the last piece I'll say, which I have come to realize is the most important, to me, the most important skill set of any founder is empathy. And here's what I mean by empathy. I don't mean being obsessed with how people feel. I think empathy gets conflated with being nice and being backing down because someone feels bad. That's not what I mean. What I mean is a leader has a deep, deep curiosity with how other people are experiencing the world. So that means their end user, how are they feeling? What do they need? What's keeping them up at night? How are they experiencing your product? How much do you care about what that user is experiencing? And then with our people, how curious are you about your co-founder or about your executive team and how they're experiencing you, what's going on in their lives, what they want to do, what their strengths are and their fears are. Those things are so important to an executive team functioning well. And if a founder isn't deeply curious and wants to understand, I just don't think they're going to be successful. I think they actually shut down to other people's perspective. I think they stop learning. I think they stop changing their mind and taking in new data. So I think empathy and I think there's a couple of studies out there from Harvard and other researchers that talk about the power of empathy and curiosity and leadership. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, I think those points are really great. When some of, I think a great definition that I heard from a VC about being a successful founder was arrogant enough to get things done. And I thought that actually that was quite good, but the aspect about curiosity, empathy is equally important, because without that, you're really kind of just focus on yourself when actually you're trying to build something ideally that it should have a use case, it should help, your customers, should solve a problem. So I think you kind of just hit a really important point. Now, one aspect that I want to ask you, what are the current trending investment opportunity in the crypto space that you see at CoinFund?
So it's a good question. And again, I think you would get the best answers in the world from our investment team. But we see some really exciting opportunities out of, I think we were early to this thesis, but AI and crypto intersection is always going to be really exciting and interesting. And we've made some, exciting investments in that space. DePIN is really exciting too. So how, crypto and Web3 can actually blend with hardware. So one of our most exciting investments is called Demo, which is actually hardware that you can, and an app that you can install in your car. So I think those things are exciting because I know one of your questions was, how do we help with crypto adoption? I think what's really important is for people to see like real world use cases they can like touch and feel. And I think, these opportunities for Web3 to start impacting things as tangible as the car you're driving are going to be really, really important. So we invest in a lot of really interesting theses, but when I think about like care a lot about, underrepresented groups and women and individuals who are not in crypto yet coming into this space. And I think the more we can talk about real world tangible use cases, the better.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, I think, one of the aspects that we were discussing before the interview when we mentioned NFTs. And if you hear outside, some people might say NFTs are dead. They are not really dead because they are an application of blockchain. But actually, you need to find what's the purpose of integrating NFT in an enterprise. And I think asking those questions, that's where you can find a strong use case for NFT to actually be used. And completely agree on the element of adoption. It does really need use cases. Margaret, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you so much for sharing your insight.
Oh, you're welcome. It was a pleasure. Looking forward to staying connected.